Welcome back to the rules of engagement. Before we jump into analyzing game number 2, let me tell you guys about that promo you just saw. If any of that stuff looks cool, if you want to be part of designing cool graphics, animations, item engineering, game design, all that stuff, go to www.fullsail.edu/MLG. Full Sail University is MLG's official education partner. They have a lot of great programs that are all used for building computer games and also for esports. All of our graphics are made by a Full Sail University graduate. So if you want a career in esports, or most of the jobs are out there in actually building games. Of course, that's a much larger industry. Go out there, get a degree, and be a part of what makes be a part of a game that then spreads to hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of people who all enjoy your work. Well, now let's get on to game number 2, and also let me remind you guys, any questions you have, I will answer at the end of this show. Tweet them to me at axslav. So, of course, for game number 2, it's going to be MVPs up 1-0 in the series. Game number 2 is a little bit of a faster game, but a couple things you're going to focus on are the speeding opening versus Terran, the implications of doing such a build. How to defend a Hellbat drop with speedlings. It's tough, but if you're stuck in a position, the key things you got to do. Then also, the importance of not getting tunnel visioned in Starcraft 2. Not, keeping aware of everything that's going on the map in your presence. So we'll start this game up here at the 5-minute mark. We can see here, I was just casting Sniper. Curious is doing a speedling opening. I mean, you still always go hatch first. You gotta go hatch first Terran, unless you're doing some crazy cheese. But then he's getting speed very quickly, right? What that means is he has less drones, less economy. What it also means is, unlike last game, if his opponent opens Reapers, he's not pinned in and stuck and has to just say, okay, MVP, you have an advantage now because you open Reapers and you're going to have an economic edge. Going Speedlings means if his opponent opens Reapers, the Speedlings can run down and kill them, and so it gives him map control early on in the game, right? But the implication is that he's going to have less economy because he got to speed so fast. If you have less economy, it means you can't do like a build where you protect yourself versus every possible thing that can be thrown at you. Instead, what you gotta do is you gotta use the fact that you have the speedlings and the map control to get really good sky information so you know exactly what they're doing, or at least you can limit them to a couple potential builds. And then once you do that, you can counter just those 1 or 2 builds, make sure you're safe versus those threats, instead of having to cover every single base, right? So it is a situation where ideally you'd have at least one speeding you'd instantly send across the map, see if you expand or not. See if there's a bunker in his base. See if when you get to the top of the ramp there's a factory with a reactor on it. Because knowing that this Hellbat drop is coming ahead of time makes a world of difference. It's super, super, super important. So very, very important to keep track of that. If you can't keep track of it, this is where it comes in. You have to defend the Hellbat drop with the speedlings, right? And now if we pause it right here, when this Hellbat's coming in, what does Zerg have to play with? Zerg has 3 queens and 14 speedings. Now 3 queens and 14 speedings can stop a Hellbat drop, but only if they're all together. The queens have to force that medevac out as soon as possible, and then with some speeding rally reinforcements, the queens and the speedings combined can actually deal with those Hellbats. But you've got to get all the units together because you need at least a couple queens to force that medevac out. If you can't force the medevac out, you can't kill the Hellbats. It's just the way it goes. So when this medevac drop comes in, and this is all you have, if you want to defend it with speedings, you've got to do first thing, pull the drones as always, right? But then it's also very important, because you need to rely on the queens for help, you've got to retreat. Any queen, this queen should have been retreating the instant that the medevac was spotted down here, because it's just going to die to the Hellbats. You got to retreat it, not just wait for one more queen, you gotta wait for all your queens. Bring them all together. And then once they're all together, then you can focus down that medevac, and then you can bring in your speedings. But you've got to group up first. If you try to send in units, speedlings, queens, one at a time, what happens is this, and each of those Hellbats has like 4, 5, and 8 kills. That's not where you want to be. See, as soon as you have 2 queens together, you can then go on, you can focus on the medevac, force it out. Then once you force the medevac out, of course, that makes it a little bit easier to finish off these Hellbats. Now, the other thing, though, we are just here looking exactly what's going on this drop. I was even putting on slow speed. Now, imagine yourself playing this game. That's all you'd be doing, like microing those Hellbats, picking them up, grabbing your queens, focusing that medevac, running drones, moving speedings. You think, yeah, I'm doing a great job. But that's what separates you from the pros. you get tunnel vision on what seems like it's really important. But let's jump back a little game and think about what would have happened to an average player if you're getting tunnel vision, right? So here's your average player. Your average Zerg player would be taking damage, right? But Curious is not your average Zerg player. He knows craziness is going on. He grabs his extra squad of speedings as that's kind of map, and he sends them up to his opponent's ramp, right? Now imagine your average Terran player against Curious. They would not see this, so they would just lose all their stuff, right? They would literally they would be still microing here. Zergans would be killing everything. They'd be losing all their stuff. But instead, you know, MVP is able to eventually figure out what's going on. He lifts the depot so more speedings can't come in. And then he's going to grab a few SCVs to go and deal with this threat, right? So it's very important. And all this what Curious did here, he did that on the minimap, right? His screen never left his defense. But because he didn't get tunnel vision, all he had to do was just grab those speedings, hit the control group, and on the minimap, tell him to run up his opponent's base and attack move. He never even had to move his screen. Maybe he did or he didn't. The idea is that all these little side control things you're doing, you can do those on the minimap. Grab your extra control groups. You know, your peripheral vision has got to be on the minimap. So you can grab your extra control group, move it. You can notice if your opponent's doing that to try to backstab you. Very, very, very important. And of course, the other thing that's very important is, let's back this up a couple notches, is as your Terran or Zerg, right? You're dealing with this medevac. You dealt with this. Bring in your extra units, right? Your other Hellions, bring them up here, right? Transform into Hellbat mode, because you know what? While you're microing this and your opponent's microing that, there's a good decision. They won't see these three guys trundling in. And then Curious, all of a sudden he sees them, but his drones are pinning them back. Where they're going to run, right? No matter where they run, he's got to run them through the Hellbats really quickly, get them to the main, and hope that MVP had his Hellbats on move command, and he won't notice this. Unfortunately, MVP, not tunnel vision, notices this, and rolls all those drones there, right? So if you go back, I mean, now it's game over, right? MVP's won this game from here because he was able to get those Hellbats in it and kill the drones. But think of this. If you didn't have the map presence to realize to bring in those reinforcements, just focused on microing his defense, microing his drop. If you didn't have that, let's back up before those Hellbats got all those kills and see what the actual damage was done here. Right? At this point in the game, right? Curious is still up by 10 drones. And these Hellbats won't really do any more damage versus this. Curious is up by 10 drones here. And MVP hasn't even started his next orbital yet. Right? So this is a situation where this Hellbat drop, I mean, I would say Curious is actually winning this game if it wasn't for these Hellbats coming and doing his massive damage. Right? He's actually winning this game. But it's that presence to just strain the multitasking, send an extra squad, get all those kills, and now all of a sudden instead of being up 10 drones, he's down 10 drones. And the pain's not even done yet. There's going to be some more guys dying as well. And, you know, the game's over. I mean, if you get behind a work count versus Terran, you're pretty much screwed. So, it's very important not to get tunnel vision. There's something going on. Keep your eyes on the minimap. Be ready to backstab your opponent. Be ready to respond to backstabs. Be ready to constantly bring up more reinforcements. Do another drop. Whatever it is, you can do all these things, like bringing in reinforcements, doing the drop. You can do a drop on a minimap. You're microing your main army. You hit your hotkey, that's your dropship hotkey. You just right-click on a minimap. You hit D and then you click there. You know, you can do all this stuff on the minimap with your main attention focused here. Don't get tunnel vision, though. You got to keep a couple tendrils of attention out to see what's going on outside on the rest of the map. So, rounds up game number 2. We'll take a short break and be analyzing game number 3 in just a minute.